Right, well, welcome to the final session in this series of Minecraft, and today we are focusing on coding with Python. So thank you, Stephen, for joining us again, and take it away.
Yeah, thanks very much, Abigail. I am going to turn my camera off because I'm struggling with all my windows I've got open on my little laptop. So I'm just going to share my screen in, and then we'll get started. But as always, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat or come off mute. We are recording this, so if you want to go back over anything, that is perfectly fine. So I'm sharing you should see a nice bit of artwork on your screen. If you can give me a thumbs up, that would be great, and then we'll kick off.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, cool. So I'd first of all like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that I'm working on today. I'm in Perth, Western Australia, the land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and I pay my respect to elders past, present, and emerging. And I recognise their relationship with the land and water around us. And I extend that respect to wherever you're joining from or wherever you might be watching the video from later on. So I'm going to share a few ideas today, all about getting started with Python in Minecraft Education Edition. So it'd be great just to know, for those people that are here live, what experience you've had with using Python or blocks. So if you just want to write a quick sentence into the chat window, what you've done either with students or by yourself, if there's any activities, or you can say, I've not used coding, or I've done Python, I've done JavaScript. Just tell me a little bit about your experience with coding in Minecraft. That would be useful for me to know. But I'm going to start from really the basics. I'm going to show you how you can get started with Python in a few different ways. We're going to look at using Python with tutorials that are built into the game. We're going to look at switching from blocks to Python in MakeCode, which was how I first got into Python in Minecraft. And then we're also going to look at some of the ready-made lesson plans that introduce Python to students. And what's really nice is there's great teacher material. So there are PowerPoints and there are workbooks that you can use with your students. So I'll go through this fairly quickly. I don't think we need to stop and try things out ourselves. It's quite self-explanatory, but I'm just going to show you some of the ways that you can get into Python. So we've got a bit of a mix here. Thanks for putting your comments in the chat. A little bit of Python experience, well versed in Python, and I've used block code in other apps. Beginner with Python, so a bit of a mix, but lots of coding, but not in Minecraft. Excellent. So I think everyone knows what coding is here, which is great. So we can go in and actually look at how we can do that in Minecraft, and hopefully you'll pick up some great tips. So I'm just going to very quickly talk about coding in Minecraft. We'll look at the hour of code activities. We'll look at some tutorials and some computer science lessons, and then I'll show you further resources. Here we go. When you code in Minecraft, who's the person that helps you? Who's hiding? Go on. Who's going to be the first to type in who my character is? Look at you, quick on the fingers there. Barry's right in with the agent. Excellent. So the agent is your character that can help you build, that can help you farm, that can help you mine, all of that cool stuff. If you're using a keyboard, you just press C, your agent appears, and you also get the code building interface. If you're on a touch screen, you just touch the little icon of the agent at the top of the screen, and away you go. So there's a lot of event-based coding to start with. So with blocks, we might drag in blocks to build. We might have events so that when you walk or when you approach something, something happens, an animal spawns, or you teleport, and things like that. But what you find quite quickly is that students who are experienced with coding, they find that they can switch to text-based, and it's quicker. It's much quicker to change the word chicken to horse by typing than dragging out a block to the bin and then dragging over another block. So there's a lot you can do much quicker with Python, and there's a lot more you can do. So we can do simple things like get the agent to build for us, make it rain chickens. That's my absolute favorite activity. I do that all the time. And we can explore how simple it is to switch between blocks and Python. So we've got the code there for on chat command chicken. Actually, I'm just going to hide that little thing there. I won't play the whole thing, but if I just go forward a bit, you can see that you can switch from blocks to JavaScript to Python, and then you can just very quickly go and edit that. So if I wanted to spawn a bat instead of a chicken, I can just change the word bat, and students can quite easily start picking up the text-based language. So this is kind of a playing around, just trying things out by yourself. It's not really structured, but if students have got code in the blocks, they can just switch over to MakeCode, JavaScript or Python, and generate the code. So really easy to do that. And then they can switch back. One thing to bear in mind, though, is if you are switching between blocks and JavaScript or blocks and Python, if you do anything too complicated, there might not be a corresponding block. So you won't be able to switch back to blocks after a certain point. So that's just something to bear in mind. But as we go through today, we're going to actually look at some tutorials starting with JavaScript from scratch. So I'm just going to kind of show you a very, very rough kind of progression of coding in Minecraft. So we might start by following instructions in pre-primary to year 2. We might then introduce algorithms in year 3 and 4, looking at iteration as an example in 5 and 6. And then it's in year 7 and 8, really, that you introduce text-based coding. So we might just switch from blocks to I'm just looking what that is. That's Python. And we might introduce conditionals. And then in year 9 and 10, we might look at variables and functions. And that's much easier to do when we're actually doing it in text-based coding. So we're going to have a look at some coding examples now. I'm going to just open up Hour of Code. Then we'll look at Intro to Python. I'll show you some of the tutorials and some of the really great subject kits. And what the Minecraft team are doing right now is they're putting together a really great progression that goes right from K to 10. So I'm going to show you where some of those lessons sit and where you can get the teacher guide.
This concept, this thinking between frames.
If I can just ask you to mute there. Thank you. And so while there's a load of great content there right now, there's a whole lot more coming later this year. So sit tight. So what I'm going to do first of all is I've just put in some examples here of this is from a lesson I did with some students. What are we learning? Various computing languages, computer programming languages, algorithms, syntax. That's really important. You'll see that one of the first tutorials is all about syntax, and you can there's some great examples there. And then a coding mindset. I'll let you work out what that is. So we're going to look at algorithms, Python, and syntax. So they are the words of today. And what I'm going to do now is just go straight into Minecraft. And I've just opened up, first of all, a what have I done? I think I've just opened a there we go. just a blocks of grass world. So I'm just going to just remind you about the tutorial. So when I press C, my agent appears, code builder appears here. And if I just go back to the start, you'll notice there are 3 types of editor. MakeCode, which is the one that we generally use for block-based coding, but you can also code in Python or JavaScript. There's the notebook, Python notebooks, which is used in most of the lesson plans for Python. Use this one. It allows you to actually explain content and comment in a really nice interface. I've not really used Tinker, but those first 2 are the ones we're going to do today. So if I go into the MakeCode one, I can see any code that I've done. There's one I did last week, and I created a maze, I think. So if I just open that up, you can see this is the maze in. I've done it in block-based coding, but I can just switch over to Python, and then I'm not going to go through all this, but it's just converted that block-based program into coding, and then I can click play. Oh, we couldn't run the. I've got to check my code for errors. Okay, I've obviously done something wrong there. But let's go into one of these examples. So Chicken Rain that I looked at earlier. You'll notice now when you click tutorials, you can do it in blocks, Python, or JavaScript. So if you are introducing Python, it's quite a nice idea to go through the different tutorials because it introduces commands, it introduces variables in a nice way. So here we go. We're going to make it rain lots of chickens. So we've got some simple sort of explanations here. So let's spawn a chicken directly above the player's head. So I type in mobs dot, and you'll see as I start typing, it comes up with suggestions. So that's something that's really neat in MakeCode. And then it will tell me if it'll give me options, and then I can just type in the things that I need to change. So now, if I spawn that chicken, I press play. Let's look up. Ah, there's a chicken, and it was spawned 10 blocks above my head. Excellent. Cool. So really simple. You can start introducing the simple little code. Now I'm going to say for I in range 100. Now I'm going to create 100 chickens, but you'll see it tells me that there's problems. So it's expecting something, or it's expecting an indent or something like that. So I have missed out my colon, and I need to indent that with a tab. So now, if I run that, I've now got 100 chickens falling from the sky. So the nice thing about this is it won't let you move on until you've corrected your code. Simple things like missing out colons, not indenting, those sorts of things, it will pick up. So that's my that's a very simple one, and I know what I want to do. I want to play around with the numbers. I want to play around with the different items that I might be able to spawn, and you'll notice that it's much easier to do that. Maybe I want them to go to the side of me. It's much easier to do that in Python than it is to drag blocks and that sort of thing. So now I'm going to run that. We couldn't run it, so I've got to check my problem. What have I done there? Line 2, unexpected token near end of file. Don't know what I've done there. Oh well, I'll have to come back to that. But you can see there, very simple. You can pick up the tutorials and you can work with them. extra bracket, that's probably it. I'll leave that as a challenge for you. Students are much more eagle-eyed than I am at picking up their errors. But all of these different examples and tutorials, you can go straight in to open the example in Python. So if I want to build a wall, I can open up the code and I can go through this. Place on move, mossy stone bricks, but maybe I don't want to build with mossy stone bricks. Maybe I want to build with old block or something like that. Now when I type in wall, okay, just by my agent is building a wall, and I've just taken some simple code and changed it. So really simple to pick up and start using those. And students can work through the different kind of examples. So if they're trying to do make a game or something, they can open the examples and go into Python. So they're quite nice for just kind of quick, rough and ready, having a play and trying things out. What I think is particularly useful and is a bit more sophisticated are the actual Python tutorials in Python notebooks. And I would normally kind of let students have a play with MakeCode if you are moving from blocks to Python. But if perhaps you've inherited a class and they haven't done any Minecraft, maybe they're in year 8 or year 9 and you want to go straight into Python, great place to start is here. And as you can see, there's some tutorials, agent build, agent moves. But a really nice one to get students working is this billboards. So you might have played a Minecraft world or a game and things have flashed up on the screen. So that's really simple to do in Python. So let's just look at this tutorial here. Billboards. And this is the interface for notebooks. You can, whether you're in Python notebooks or you're in MakeCode, you can have it on the other side of the screen, or you can have it full screen, whatever suits you. So we're going to use titles. So to show titles, you'll use the show title command and give it some text. Okay. So the nice thing here is it gives you some context, and then it gives you a little editable box. So show title, type your name in above. Well, I'm not going to type my name. I'm going to type South Australia because that's who I'm talking to today. So show title, and there we go. So when I run that, there we go. That's put a nice big title on my screen. So what the students can do is they can get into quite exciting things that when you approach a building, a title comes up, or when you're teleported somewhere, a title comes up. And then you've got subtitles as well. So maybe I want South Australia, and then I put here loves coding. Okay, and now if I run that, there we go. I've got a slightly a subtitle underneath, and then you've also got one final line. So you can say, "Hi, I'm John, and I like apples." And what that will do is, "Hi, I'm John, and I like apples." And then you've got the ability to add a comment at the bottom. So you've kind of got 3 levels of writing, and then you can actually have it fade in and fade out. So if you ask a student about time in Minecraft, they'll tell you there's 20 ticks in a second, and that's what that's the time they use there. So if I type in fade in 40, stay on the screen for 40, and then fade out. Oh, I'm capitalizing things there. Fade out equals 40. And then I'll just write Hi, South Australia. We love coding. Where is it? Did I press the wrong button? Ah, I don't know where that went. Is it in there? There we go. I hid it. We love coding in Python. Pretty small to see. You probably can't see that on the screen, but if you try this later on, it's quite easy. It gives you nice explanations that you can go and play, and it will always tell you if you've there we go. And then that you see that's just faded after a certain amount of time. So you can play around with those settings. So that's kind of the structure for notebooks. And if I go back to the main screen, which is here, you can go through the basics of getting the agent to build, move, build a railway, make a farm, build an aquarium, all the kind of tutorials that that you had with block-based coding, but they're all presented in this kind of notebooks form where you're given some activities and then you've got something to edit and change. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense there. Recommend having a look at those if you're going straight into Python, but I quite like going from the blocks in the MakeCode examples as well. So that's the notebook Python and the tutorials. The other way that's nice, a gentle way to go into Python is using the hour of code. So there's currently, if I come out of here, I'm just going to save and exit that. So there's currently 3 hour of code activities that were actually built inside Minecraft. If I go to subject kits, computer science, hour of code, the 2019 one was AI. The 2020 was about inclusion, and the 2021 was about Timecraft. I'd love to know if you've done any of those. So can you just write in the chat if you've done 2019, 2020, or 2021, or your students have done that, or you've seen maybe your children at home have done them. It'd be great just to see what experience there is with the hour of code activities. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at one from a couple of years ago, 2020, and just show you how you can actually go through the activity with Python. So that might be a nice quick activity to get students used to using Python in Minecraft. So yep. I think this year's and last year's, or last year's and the year before, are the ones that you could actually do in Python. So let me just show you that. I'm not going to go through the whole activity, even though it says 1 hour. I've seen students do it in 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes if they're doing it with Python. But the nice thing is, when you start the activity, you get the choice of doing blocks or Python. So this can be another nice, gentle introduction. So even if your students may have done it in the past, they might have done the inclusion activity in year 6. You can introduce them to it again in year 7, and they do it with the blocks instead. So let me just whiz through this pretty quickly. It's a tale of 2 villages. We're going to get the villages working closely together. Excellent. Now this person's got a question mark. So I'm going to help him out. And am I going to do it with blocks or Python? So it says if you're new to coding, recommends blocks. But if you've done it before, just go straight on to Python. Excellent. So now I can press C and start coding. So you might notice this is the notebook format again. And if I just close that down, there's my agent, and I've got to move him to land on that gold block. So it gives the instructions. Valid instructions are forward, back, left, right, up and down. And then it gives you the code. The comments are always in green. So if I've got agent move forward, if I run that activity, as it is, it follows those instructions, and I haven't really done it right. So I've got to go in. But the nice thing about the notebooks is you can actually copy and paste. So I can copy that. Oh, that's the read-only editor. There we go. I've got to do it down here. Agent move forward. I can just copy that and put it in 4 times. And so the agent's going to move forward 4 times. So I can run that. There we go. And I've solved the problem. So nice and easy to get into the text-based programming. What have I got to do next? Go to the caretaker. Press C. I've got a gift. Here we go. And I'll see the gift here is give yourself 5 stone blocks. So it's telling you how to give yourself different items. And this time we're going to give ourselves a sapling. So I'm going to go into the code here, and I've got to write sapling in quotation marks. And how many saplings do I need? Just the 1. And now I've been given a sapling, which I can plant, and now I can go and do the activity. Okay, so I can just go through here, and what you'll find is when you come to an activity to do, you now will be doing that using blocks. So there's an example of the of coding being used to put in a bulletin board, and now I can go and build my doc for the students, and it actually gives you all the things I need to know here. So it teaches me about items, counts, and slots, and then moving and placing. So it actually gives you all the commands you might need, so you can actually work through the hour of code and solve all the problems in Python. So I'm not going to go through any more of that, but leave that as an example for you. I think that's a really great way for students to get into Python. And as I've said, last year's activity, the Timecraft, and the year before, the Tale of Two Villages are both have Python enabled for those activities. So that's great. Just wondering, has anyone done either of these activities in the Python, and how did your students get in? Let us know in the chat if you have. But I'm just going to leave that there for you to explore later. I'm finished. I'm going to exit the lesson. And what I'm going to do now is just show you I've put a PowerPoint, or a PDF of a PowerPoint in the team. So this is one that I've used when I've introduced Python to students. So can you see this okay?
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah, excellent.
It was
so
tiny bit blurry, but it looks fine now.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks. Yeah, I'm running lots of things on my screen at the moment. So this is just a really nice introduction to Python, first of all. And yeah, Abigail's just shared that in the chat as well, which is fantastic. And what's quite nice about this is it talks about getting set up. It gives you some really nice examples about giving your world a good name. Creative and peaceful are great for coding. Flat worlds are easy to code. Showing coordinates, particularly if you're going to do any mining or building or teleporting. It just goes through some of the settings that you'll want to use when you're doing coding. And another one is chunking. So you can actually bring down the chunking to 4 chunks. So that just means it's not creating a whole lot of stuff in the distance, and it makes your game run a bit smoother. Perfect weather and always day. I normally have those enabled when I'm coding, because I don't want it to get dark and I don't want it to suddenly start having a thunderstorm. So those were really the main things I wanted to share there. And now this is an activity where the students can kind of get used to some of the simple coding activities in the notebook editor. So yes, you can code in Python, and yes, your students will love to code in Python. So the nice thing here is it gives you some coding do's and don'ts. So start with one line of code that you know works, run it, be successful. So if you're trying to build a castle, maybe just build one wall first and check that, rather than writing all the lines of code to build a whole castle, and then you've got to go and correct it. So make sure one line of code is working, or one particular element, and then build on it. Fixing errors is one of the biggest parts there. I closed the program down just now rather than fix the errors, but obviously I wasn't trying to create something or solve a problem. And not worry about errors. Computing is learning. It just takes time to get over the bumps. So what we're going to do now is look at some of these in the first lesson, some of the code that you might do. So all first programming endeavors should begin with hello world. And in Minecraft, the Python is just say hello world. So you can write that code, and then your player will say hello world. That's a nice one to start with. Then you can summon. So you can summon a mushroom or a chicken or a bat or whatever it is that you want to do. Teleport you can do by coding as well. So you might set up some really cool game where if a student clicks on a magic door, it takes them to the other side of the house, or if they open a cake, it teleports them to the kitchen or whatever it might be. And then things like combining them. So say looking up, player teleport from me 0250 summon chicken. So what that means is it'll say looking up, and then I'll be teleported up, and then a chicken's going to appear in front of me. But you can also use it for building. So you can have world.fill. So that will fill from a particular coordinate to another coordinate full of stone. So there's little things like that, and students can explore. So sometimes I'll just put up something like that and let the students explore some of those basic commands and see what they can combine and that sort of thing. So obviously they can change the words and then play on. Then coding with tutorial. So I've already talked about billboards, and now I'm going to go and show you some of the actual activities as well. So I've just put this this in the chat so that you can kind of use these examples in a first lesson. Variables is kind of an extension of what we did on billboards. So you might want to, depending on the age and experience of the students, actually introduce variables and then have a billboard showing up the variables, and then maybe play around with the order and those sorts of things. So there's some really nice little ideas there. And yeah, great comment there from Angela. Some students tried Python and did well. Less confident students completed it with block code. And that's the nice thing. You've got the two options. You can always drop back to the block code and then switch to Python later and see how things compare. So different ways of working. Cool. So I just thought I'd share that because I thought it was really useful. The activities I'm going to show you now also come with lesson plans and student workbooks and PowerPoint presentations and things as well. So there's loads of great resources for teachers using this with students. So I'm going to go to View Library, and I'm going to go into Subject Kits, Computer Science, and you'll see that's where the Hour of Code activities are. Block-based coding, and then Python is what we're going to look at today. So there's kind of two pathways, Python 101 and Python Islands. And it's not really, this is where you start and then you move on to this. If you look through the activities, you'll see there's kind of some overlap, but there's some nice progression. So you can kind of learn about, for example, syntax in here, and then you can go in and try and solve some of the problems here. And as I'm going to show you in a little bit later, there's actually a sequence that you can go through with students, or you can just try things out. So maybe you're looking at variables, or maybe you're looking at sort of more advanced code. It is recommended that you go through these in order because they do build on each other. So I'm just going to go into this lesson here. And this is a really nice little series of lessons about finding bugs. And so the students are actually going and they're going to solve little problems and fix the code that already exists. I'm just going to show you actually these resources are actually online. So just before we go into the game, let me just show you where you can get the teacher resources. So if you go into education.minecraft.net and you go to explore lessons, there's the computer science subject kit, and then there's a whole lot of lesson materials. There's the Python 101, and if you go into that, there are 10 lessons. They're not listed in order. Let me find lesson 1. Ah, there's lesson 1. So it says there, age group 11 to 13, 14 to 18, so high school age. And if you go into the lesson, this is where you get all of the lovely teacher materials. So we've actually got kinds of the outline of the activity, what the students need to do, some questions you can ask them, and then there's all sorts of stuff here. So you've got a scope and sequence, you've got an educator guide, and this actually talks you through how the lesson might work. So this one is a 45-minute lesson. It gives you things that you can talk to the students about, algorithms and syntax, how you introduce the different commands, and then just talks you through with answers. So it's got all the teacher answers in there as well, and then some questions you can ask at the end of the lesson. So there's some really nice resources. So everything kind of is available there, and also, is it in there? Ah, there is a link to the lesson plan under the Create World button. Ah, so I can't see that link there. There should be, or there has been a link there in the past, but if you search for it via the website, you can get to it as well. Cool. So I'm just going to create that world and just kind of give you an overview, and hopefully you can see this is a nice, simple, gentle introduction for students to get used to Python. Okay. And again, we use the notebooks here. These are really designed for students to work individually rather than in groups. For those people that have used it, it would be great to know if students have worked individually on these, or if they've been working in the same world. Sometimes I've had students sort of 3 to a computer or 3 to a device, sort of helping each other. But generally, you can get on top of each other if you're all in the same world when you are coding. Okay, so here I am. I've got a camera. I just like taking photos as I walk around, just to show that I've done something. So I'm going to talk to the CEO. There's the CEO. Nice to see you. Can you help us with all these pesky bugs? Okay. So go to activity 1. Let's do this pretty quick. Oh, look at this. Minecraft Python command structure. This looks like a serious room. Here's the developer. Okay, can you help me? I can't seem to get a Minecraft Python command structure right. I've tried to write it down in many different ways, but I don't know which one works. Could you try them out in the coding world and see which one of the commands run? Okay, so the cool thing here is there's different computers with different commands on, and I've got to go into coding, is the Python notebooks, and check whether that code works. So let's have a look. Let's actually get that to the side. Look at my skills, and now I can actually see it. So I'm writing player say hi. I've got problems. We couldn't run this program. Okay, so it's not that one. So let me have a look. It's got to be command group dot command name parameters. Yeah, I haven't really learned what it needs to be. So let's see which one of these looks good. Player dot say hi. No, I think we need brackets for the parameters. So does that look good? Player dot say hi. I'm liking the look of that one. So let's correct that. Player dot say, oh, it's looking good. Hi. If I'd done the, if I'd worked through the tutorials, the notebook tutorials, I'd already be way ahead of this. But let me try that. And there we go. It says Steven P. Hi in the corner. So that's correct, I think. So I'm going to click on that. Yes, I've done the first activity. So that's a really nice, simple activity where students can work things out. And I should open the door to the next set of activities. There we go. What have I got to do here? Minecraft Python syntax structure. We've got some blocks there, some specially made blocks with parts of syntax. So what does this say? This is the programmer. I need some syntax. I need your help. I know some syntax is missing from these 6 commands, but I just can't put my finger on what it is. Can you help me out by trying the commands and then placing the correct syntax blocks from the chest on the gold in front of the TV monitor? Okay, I think I can do that. So I've got some blocks here. So I've got to put in some left parentheses, quotation marks, and right parentheses. Excellent. So what's missing here? Player say, oh, there we go. I'm just missing a bracket. Correct. So I could be opening the code and trying these, but I think I've got the hang of this. This is missing a quotation marks. This is missing quotation marks. Oh, here we go. Oh dear. This is missing brackets. 1 and 4. See, I'm having so much fun doing this. And now we've got all sorts of stuff here. I'm missing of everything. This. Okay, let's see. Let's do this pretty quick and then move on to the next one. And then we'll leave that there. That looks, oh, I don't know what I do here. That needs, I don't think I can do that one. Let's just try putting the, oh, there's a bug. There's real bugs. Ah! No, that's no good. Hey! Now I can go through here. And so you can see there's just some simple little activities. They all work in slightly different ways. This one's introducing a little bit of maths here. I won't do this one, but let's just see what it is. Can you write some code to calculate the correct answer? So you can see here, I've got to type this code into the Python notebook and work out which is the correct answer. So nice, simple little activity that students can work through at their own pace. But like I showed you, you can open up the, you can get to the lesson plans online. And and then you've got the educator guide, and you've got the scope and sequence of the whole activity as well. So of all of the it goes through all of the Python 101 activities. So the first one we were looking at was all that syntax. It gives you sample codes. It tells you what computer science concepts are introduced. So it may be that you don't do all of these activities, but maybe you are learning about variables in a computer science lesson or a digital technology lesson. So you can see here that creating and assigning numerical values to variables is in lesson 3. So you might just go to lesson 3 with the students, or maybe you're looking at using lists or loops, and you can just go and get the activities from there. So it's quite nice that it gives you all that content. It uses the computer science attainment targets from the US Common curriculum. So obviously that's not going to apply directly to South Australia, but you know, a variable is a variable in every country. I think it's the same thing, and you can obviously introduce those concepts. So you've got the Python 101, which is really great to kind of introduce those concepts bit by bit, and then you've got the island lesson. So if I search Python island, let's see if I can spell Python island. There we go. We're processing. There we go. So with Python, it's come up with the 101s again. Oh, there's island 1. Brilliant. So I'm just going to give you a little preview of that as well, because I think that's a really well put together activity. So I'm going to go to subject kits, computer science, Python islands, island 1. And again, this hasn't got a link to lesson plan, but we know that we can just search for them online. Island 1. And I can actually post that in the chat. Can I? So we can see there that we've got the idea. Students are coming to the mystical floating islands kingdom to help the residents develop their understanding of technology. Then it's got a list of the activities, outcomes, so questions that you might ask at the end of the lesson, and then there's the islands overview, there's the scope and sequence. Oh look, there's even a French language version. But the great thing is there's a lesson plan for the teacher, so you can have this open as the students work through this, and it gives you some structure. So for this one 45-minute lesson, we're looking at variables in Python. It talks about the different buttons you might need, the different commands, say a message, move, agent place, keywords, and then just how you can set up the lesson. And it gives you all of the solutions, which is really helpful as well. So it talks about setting a variable and then changing the variable during the same program and lots of other things. So that's what I really like about this, is that the lessons are there, the students can work through them at their own pace, but you can also pick up and use the lesson plans. And I know certainly I've worked with a lot of teachers who aren't digital technologies teachers first and foremost. They might have started out as a drama teacher, or their main subject is maths, but they can pick up and use the questioning and the examples in the lesson plans. So I really, really like that. So don't just think you've got to open the world and run with it. There is a lot of material online to support that as well. And these are really well put together lessons. So let's just have a really quick look at this. I haven't actually looked at this for about for a few months, so I might get it wrong. I might need some help. Okay, Jesse. Well, there's a lot going on this page. Look out for white markers. They tell you who to talk to next. So my current task is to talk to Jesse. Here we go. Welcome, traveler. And just remember, if I am struggling to read, I can just click the immersive reader and I can have it read out to me what she's saying, or I can translate into another language. So really, really super helpful. If you've got a Bulgarian speaker in your class, they can actually listen to all those instructions in Bulgarian. Fantastic. So what am I doing? Am I interested? Go on and have a word with one of our experts. Cool. So I'm going to look for someone with a white blob on their head, and I think it's this character here. Look at that massive chicken at the back. Okay, so talk to Say, and this is the Say researcher. So you want to announce your ideas to the world. Well, look no further than Say, my friend. Say, brackets, brackets, is a great way of announcing your thoughts. Do you want to learn how to use it? Well, why not? And again, all these worlds are used in the Python notebooks. So I can press C, and I, in this example, learn how to use the Say command. There we go. The Say command is used to output a message to the chat. So if I run that, there we go. I said hello world without typing it in. And what's this one? Once upon a time, there was a mysterious world. Oh, let's run that. Oh, it said hello world. That's because I was far too quick and there were so many errors. Syntax error, invalid syntax. Yeah, I need to put in some inside the outside the word would be good. I need to just put in some quotation marks, and then we can write a nice little story. There we go. Nearly missed one. I should do it. Oh, there we go. So I've got a nice little bit of story going on there. So I've done pretty well there. Once you finish, click the next button to move on. Cool. So what are some other things I can do? So I can work with integers, so whole numbers. I can work with floats, decimal numbers, and booleans, true or false. Okay, so I can run that and I can actually publish those answers. That's not that exciting, but when I start doing calculations and I can set up commands to answer quizzes and things, that becomes really exciting. Cool. So let's just say task complete. Even though I didn't quite complete it, let's look for this next white blobbed person. So now we can learn about variables. This is what I'm talking about. Do you want to learn how to use variables? I use them all the time to temporarily store some data. They are super useful. Yes, please. That's what I've come here for today. So I'm going to press C, and I'm going to explore the use of variables. So we may have talked about this in the class, but I'm also getting this reinforced here that variables are temporary places to store information. So we've got an amazing variable called hello world, which means that we can call that up later on. This line below, so we've set the variable and then we call the variable with run. So that's just a simple test, but I can just change the word test, Stevo rules, and then in my code, whenever I want to say my amazing variable, that will run whatever I've written there. I can also overwrite a variable. So I can write, for example, my amazing variable is bad news. Then maybe something happens in the game and it automatically changes the variable to good news. And that will automatically change when I then call that variable. So I think I've got the I've got the basics of variables. So yeah, they can also store, you can have a variable called name and a variable called age, and then you can combine the two. And now I'm just going to go and get my agent license, and I think that will suit me. So where's the blue? I need to look for a white blob person. Do I? Who's this person? He looks very serious. If only I had some coal, we could do so much more for the village. If only I could get my hands on some coal. I haven't got any coal, mate. How do I get my agent license? What about this character here? The farm is currently open to qualified farm staff. You must have an agent license. Have you got one? No. Oh, this is where I need a student. They would tell me where to get my agent license from straight away. So I looked at this character up here. And then I followed the task. Oh, I don't know where to go to get my license. Does anyone know? No. Do I go back to her? No.
There was a white cloud behind that last character. Like, if you look up in towards the trees, there was not there. A bit. I thought I saw a character, but maybe not.
It's probably really easy. There's one. How odd. I don't know. Who's that? Really slow. There we go. I need to go and get my agent license from somewhere. Okay, I've just closed down Minecraft because it froze the same time as Teams froze. So what I'll do is I'll just share a couple of resources to finish with. I think you got the idea of that. If I managed to get my agent to go up and get across to the gold block, then I would have got my agent. I would have got my coding license, and I'd be able to go on and do the next task. So that's how that was framed. So I'm just going to share in my screen again and just share a couple of resources and then see if there are any particular questions. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's bring this in. Okay, so this was the lesson that I was doing there. You see the structure of the lesson. If I was a teacher and I'd actually paid attention, I would have seen how to do the activity. So I start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But luckily I had Abigail to help guide me to where I needed to be. So I get to the agent, and then we're going to go and plant some wheat. Then we're going to collect some apples, and then we're going to mine some coal. So that's quite a lot for 45 minutes, but you're introducing different concepts as you go. So I think that's probably all I wanted to share in Minecraft today. I am going to just I'll share this PowerPoint with you as well, because I wanted to share a link to the computer science kit, the link to the Minecraft Hour of Code, and then there's also these OneNote books. If you've attended one of my previous sessions, you may have seen these. It's a whole kind of curriculum. There's one for primary school, and then there's one for middle school. So that's sort of up to year 6, and that's sort of year 7 to 9. But it introduces all of the different concepts that we've looked at, and it's got some great activities. So I'll share those links with you. I'll share this PowerPoint actually with you online. Many of you will know the... That went far too. Why did that happen there? You will know the Minecraft Teacher Academy that I've mentioned before. Many of you will have done that. The other thing is let's leave it there. I've shown the most important things.
So thank you everybody for joining us for this last session. Hopefully we can get Steven back later in the year as well for some more follow-up to help you continue your Minecraft journey. And hopefully you took away some things that you can use with your students from this. I know I certainly learned a lot because I've never looked at the Python side of things in Minecraft. So thank you very, very much. And hopefully we see you back soon.